You've been aggravated since we turned the mics on.
I don't know what it is. I don't have time to think about that right now.
Crusher and Hardy.
It's ridiculous.
The Sports Hub.
Jaylen throws the shoulder into him. Free throw line, leans in. Really tough shot is good. Just jumped over Maxey, who had taken his vision away.
Every time I hear this is like some 80s montage of the main character walking through the quad or something.
Hey, what is this?
It's from that movie Drive. It's Kavinsky, Night Call. This was kind of like the
Now, why do you like this?
I don't know. It just has a nice vibe to it. Like John says, it's kind of that cool, like, throwback vibe to it.
Well, I don't like it.
Oh, really?
Now, listen, you curate the music. I've allowed you to. I've allowed you.
Yes. I've been given permission.
Adam humbly came to me with hat in hand. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I'm joking
Just
about that.
because it's not someone who's headlining Guitar Fest doesn't mean it automatically stinks.
Oh, okay, you hack. Why don't you steal more Orochi's material? All right. Look, you can watch this on YouTube. I suggest you do. You had the Bruins lose, and it was disappointing, and I did think that they could win that series. I thought they might. I thought they would.
They should
but
have.
they didn't.
They should have.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. But
Well, they kicked away a 2-0 lead with 8 minutes left in game 1. They scored first in game 3. I mean, you could easily make that argument.
I said something to Fred that I know crawled right up his keister after that game 1. But I said the fact that they let that thing get away from them in that fashion in the third period may have cost them the series. And you didn't reply to me via text because I thought a long-term Chicken Little outlook such as that probably landed on the wrong side with you. And I'm not saying I'm right, but you go back to that game 1 and think,
So my lack of response makes you think that I was too overcome with anger to get back to you.
Yes. To answer succinctly,
I was in the Bahamas, man. I was soaking up the sun. I mean, come on. All right, so look, that was disappointing, but certainly, they were a big underdog in that series after all. So, and they weren't supposed to make the playoffs at all. The Celtics, another story. Even though many of us thought before the season there was a chance they'd be in the play-in tournament, this was a year, I don't know who, maybe it was Grandy who phrased it a gap year, not saying that it was a gap year, but calling out everyone all season long for daring to think that the team wouldn't be very good. And then Jaylen Brown got into it, and he got onto Twitter, and he was making fun of everyone for calling it a gap year, and they were winning, and they were right, and they were favorites to come out of the East, and eggs on everyone's face. No one should have doubted them. But then they lost in the first round, up 3-1 in a series, and that they were massive favorites in, and they were a favorite in every game after that. And what happened? They lost. And then they're going to turn around and go, well, it was a gap year. And you're like, well, no. No. When you were winning, you were, gloating and holding it over everyone's head, as is your right when you're winning. But then the narrative can't flip just because you lose. That's asinine. These are the things that bother me. And I don't think I'm alone. I've severe mental problems. But this one, I think everyone's on the same page. I did that to apologize for not texting you. I said I had severe mental problems. I knew that you get a kick out of that.
You don't need to state what we all know.
Yeah. But sometimes I think you like the affirmation. So anyway, Jaylen Brown took to Twitch, as one does. You guys saw a little bit of this at the very valuable Celtics Media Day that you go to. So much content.
Very valuable. Lots of stuff.
This is where the great minds gather in troubled times. Twitch. This is where you go. Yeah.
So he gets up there on Twitch, and what I said when they saw it on Media Day is when Jaylen Brown, they did their interview with him, he came in with a posse, a gaggle of people doing a Twitch feed for him. And I guess some people make a lot of money on it. And here is Jaylen Brown. He is, of course, after a disappointing series in a Game 7 loss, bitching about the officiating.
If you're going to call a push-off, call that. Same move. Same move.
All right, so he's showing highlights of people from the other team doing things that were not called for offensive fouls while playing music. He's like breaking down video.
Right.
This is how he's chosen to spend the hours after the Game 7.
Jaylen,
excuses.
Who had more offensive fouls called on him, all but one player for the regular season, and had twice as many called on him in the postseason. So there's a track record here. There's a history, but now it's the officials.
But the thing that sucks is that like everyone was on his side, including me, about how he got screwed with the USA Olympic team. And, you were rooting for him because he did get screwed. And now this. Just sitting around, like, making excuses. Making excuses, like, for your own play. I mean, he was good. He was good in Game 7. I don't know why he's making so many excuses. He had 33 points. He was good. He was maybe their only good player in Game 7.
Tatum is way down the list of players and things that I blame.
Brown.
Brown is way down the list for players and things that I blame for the loss of the series, and specifically for Game 7. For me, it starts with Tatum not playing, the team for being on board with him not playing, and that stupid starting lineup to start Game 7. Those are 1, 2, and 3.
It's the starting lineup was an issue. It's not. It's just was. Some things are fact. It was a big mistake. How do I know? Because it didn't work, and it got them in a hole that they couldn't recover from.
Yeah, you go out there and spot the visitors 9 points, and I hate to keep reiterating this, but I feel like if I were hearing this for the first time, this would be my reaction. What do the first 5 minutes of an NBA game matter? In the regular season, not much. In the postseason, in a Game 7, it matters. And you saw how things started for the Celtics in Games 5 and 6, and they started poorly and they didn't recover. So here you get a chance to start better in Game 7, and instead you put Shireman, Harper, Garza out there with Brown and White.
And John informed us that those 5 had never played together all season. But, okay, so can you come back from a 9-point deficit in the NBA? Sure, you could come back in 2 minutes, minute and a half down 9. But do you start a game deliberately to get down 9 points? No, it was entirely because of the coach, because, right, he picks the starting lineup. Yep. So he made a terrible error. Now, was it?
Well, those guys played really well at the end of Game 6. Oh, I don't know. You know what? Peyton Pritchard won a jump ball at the end of a game, too. Why don't we have him take the opening tip? As long as we're doing that, let's just take what happened most recently and figure that's going to continue.
You know what? Of all those 3 substitutions, of those 3 changes in the starting lineup, you can kind of make an argument to start Garza over Queta. Kind of. Only because Garza is just as physical as him and can occasionally make a 3. It might draw Embiid away from the basket a little bit. But the other 2, I didn't understand. I still don't. And I haven't gotten an adequate explanation for it. Other than they looked good at the end of Game 6. I don't understand it.
Well, it didn't. For whatever reason he did it, it didn't work. And it's all him. There's no other guy. He made that decision and it didn't work.
That's him.
Yep.
Is it the reason they lost the game? There's a lot of reasons they lost the game. But the 76ers scored far more points than they did while that starting lineup was on the
Falling
floor.
behind 28-15 couldn't have helped.
It just is something to point to and go, well, that was an incredibly odd decision that didn't work. Now, they got the game within 1 late. They were on a nice run. The Garden was going nuts so crazy, and they couldn't make any shots after that, and that's the way it goes. But he made a incredibly unconventional decision to play 5 guys that had never played with each other all year, including one guy who's basically a 2-way player, and it didn't work. There's really no debate for it. Some problems exist, and then you got to deal with them. And I only wonder what his strategy is going to be Missoula this offseason. Will he walk Hardy 3.5 miles in the Costa Rican jungle with no shoes on?
If he chooses to, and that's where he is led, he's not going to plan on anything. He is going to allow himself to be led to these places in the offseason, Fred. Perhaps.
Well, last time that they had a really disappointing loss, he learned to surf. Do you perhaps think he'll learn to unicycle this time?
Well, can't do push hands on a unicycle.
Well,
I don't know if he can do
I
that.
wonder what martial arts form he'll very coolly learn.
What's that stupid tightrope that the guys string between a couple of trees and bounce up and down on? That seems like something he might be into. The tension line. You see, like the rock climbing dudes. You know what I'm talking about?
Rope.
No,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
All right. Okay. Regardless, we're not going to get to all of them right here. We'll play them throughout the show. Here is Jaylen Brown. I mean, it was really surprising that they lost this series. It's not good. And man, it could have been Knicks Celtics, which is just so great because it brings so much juice. Because every national broadcaster is a Knicks fan, and it's all anyone talks about. It's like it's almost like an NFL playoff vibe to that degree nationally because they're all Knicks fans. Like something like, I'd say 70% of all national guys are Knicks fans, 20% are Celtics fans, and then you throw in a bunch of stuff for the others.
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
If you're going to call a push-off, call that. Same move. Same move. Same refs. Oh, it's nothing? It's a play on, right? It's weird activity.
Now, is there a guy playing the piano in the background?
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like we're in a
and he's
bar.
just barely out of focus. And every once in a while, he leans his head in to look at the monitor.
Oh, it's like David Lee Roth with the guitarist during his talk show type of thing.
Well, that was called track blasting.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if they won Game 7 if he would have a drummer to punctuate his jokes. Pum-pum-pum.
You're going to call me, right? And it's right here, right in front of you. Same move. Same move. Everybody does it.
Yeah, that's why you guys lost. Okay, I get it now.
That's Gabe from The Office doing a soundscape in the background.
That's an underrated character. He's really good in Silicon Valley, too.
It's the same move, but this is a three-point play. He makes a three right here. If it would have been me, that'd have been an offensive foul. And people saying I'm stiff-arming, I'm Mark Henry stiff-arming people out here, whatever y'all be saying.
Yeah. Well done, Mark Henry. That's a wrestler, right?
Yes.
Hey, I knew I liked you.
Like, every good basketball player does this.
Then why do you do it?
What are y'all talking about? They clearly had an agenda.
Oh, my God. Such a victim.
The agenda is
The
what?
agenda is to get the Sixers the further along than Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and the Boston Celtics. That's the NBA's ultimate goal.
It's funny because I knew he got screwed not being on that Team USA and all the excuses they were making about like, well, he didn't fit into the concept of the team. No. He's way better than the guy. They put Derek White on instead of him. He's better than Derek White. And they're the same, around the same size and have around the same, like, not skill level, but skills. Like, it's not like they put, some 7'2" guy on the team.
Brown's 2 or 3 inches taller and plays defense and can guard just about anybody. And he's not as good a shot blocker as White is, but he's a better scorer.
Well, if they wanted a shot blocker, I would have gotten Derek White. I mean, if you could have gotten anyone from the United States to block shots, and you chose Derek White. I mean, was Chet Holmgren on the Team USA?
No.
Then put Chet Holmgren on Team USA if you want a shot blocker.
Next time Holmgren makes it.
Oh, he will. I mean, he will.
I'm not kidding. Next time.
Yeah. And Cade Cunningham and the rest.
They clearly had on the red board. If Jaylen does this move, call an offensive foul on him every time. I don't know. It's because I pissed the refs off. I've been critical about him, and I called them out a bunch of times.
That's true. A lot of NBA players take it very easy on the officiating. He's the guy that calls out the refs. Again, what do you do after a Game 7? Do you take personal inventory and figure out how things can go better next year? No. Let's start combing through tape so I can make a video explaining how I got screwed. Okay. This is good stuff. And very likable. And well thought out PR-wise to go on Twitch and then complain. But I guess what you get is comments on Twitch saying how wonderful you are. So you do get the satisfaction of like 1,000 people.
Yeah, so you're going to get
great.
that dopamine rush, but you shouldn't need it. But no one is blaming Jaylen Brown after that game.
No, but he probably had in his head Tatum's hurt. Like, I'll come out and win this game 7, and then people will get back to praising me. And yeah, Brown played well. He was a minus 16 in the game, but that's not all on him. He played an awful lot of minutes.
By the way, thank you to Dr. McGuire, who just emailed in something. He says, first time since 1956 that 3 starters in an NBA playoff game finished with 0 points.
Yeah, that's the other thing. All 3 guys who they started didn't score. Yeah, that was a problem.
Killer idea. Dynamite.
Well, listen, is he the worst guy in the world for doing that? No, but I don't want to hear one argument that it was a good decision. I mean, it just wasn't a good. Something as I get older that starts to bother me is that when you go, there's a problem, people just start going blah 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 blah, and this, and you go, okay, yeah, but this is a problem, and there needs to be a solution to it. Like, this didn't work, so there needs to be a solution. It's like with Callahan in the Major League Baseball disparity, the disparity in the amount of money teams spend. And Callahan's over there making every excuse in the book, and then you hear him out, and then you go, okay, but it's a problem. So everything you just said is fine, but this exists. So can we deal with it now? There's this whole energy from people that they don't want to address problems. They just want to explain why they exist, and you go, okay, great, but here we are.
Was that November he did that? October?
It's just systematic.
Okay.
And I could bring up a million societal and political things that people go, but,
Right.
and you go, no, fine. You don't like why this is happening, but it's happening. So now what do we do to solve it? Like, it drives me crazy. But this is why he did it. But this is why he did it. It didn't work. So therefore, it was a mistake. Should he be fired? No, but it was a mistake without any debate. That minor thing in the world of basketball, in the history of basketball, can be fairly labeled a mistake with a pretty solid argument with no holes in it. But you can come back. Sure you can. Yeah. But that was a mistake. But it didn't cost him the game. Sure. But it was a mistake. Right. Focus on the mistake. Oh.
They were like, you know what, I got you in the playoffs. Watch this. And that's exactly what they did. When you're in the middle of the series, I don't got time to say that because that's a distraction. I'm trying to focus. But now that's over. Some bullshit. I've been doing that all regular season. Everybody's been doing it all regular season. You're going to call that on me every time. And y'all don't see it like it's an agenda. It's clearly an agenda. Look at the same move.
And that's why
you got called on it a lot in the regular season.
And by the way, that's why you guys lost 3 games, because they called offensive. How many games you foul out of? How many games? No, in the playoffs did you foul out of?
None.
0.
Yeah. So what?
But it takes the ball away, and you don't get a chance to score in that possession.
So let's see. He had 3 personal fouls. So he had 3 personal fouls. That cost him the game?
Yeah, because what he was planning on doing was getting it down low, then kicking it back out for a 3 that was going to miss. You upset the rhythm.
So even, by the way, if they make those 3 threes, it's a tie game. So there you go. I guess that's if they would have hit all 3 if they would have scored 3s on every possession he committed a foul, if they were all offensive fouls. I mean, come on. He had 3 fouls in the game. That's why they lost. Okay, sure. 3 fouls. Okay. All right, we'll be back. Jim McBride, we will turn our focus to the Bruins. We'll do that in just a moment. It's never changed. It's never changed. It's the same thing over and over and over and over. It's just never good. It wasn't funny the first time.
Toucher and Hardy, mornings on the Sports Hub.
I did have injury one, yeah. I think it's just a little groin. I don't know what they call it. It's tear or torn. I don't know the difference, so don't make much of it. But yeah, so I had that in November. I came back a little earlier. Battled mentally a lot with that as a player because, with the stride, remember that pain for a while when that happened. So I struggled with that a little bit.
Jim McBride covers the Bruins for the Boston Globe. He's kind enough to join us. Hello, Jim McBride.
Good morning, Fred. Good morning.
All right. Good morning to you.
Were you going to say good morning, Hardy? Good morning, John?
Wallach, something like that?
I mean, don't stop short,
And it was
Jim.
kind of an awkward pause there. So
Did you forget that we were here?
Yeah, he doesn't care.
No one really.
I never forget you guys.
No one needs to hear about them. That's for sure. All right. So listen, the Bruins lose this series. If you're describing the season and from the beginning and how you thought it was going to start until where we are now with them out of the playoffs, can you kind of give us your thoughts as a whole?
Yeah, I was one of those people who didn't think there'd be a playoff team this year. I thought, with that roster turnover at the deadline last year and a new coach coming in, implementing new systems, I figured a playoff spot was a long shot. I thought, but early on in the season, kind of from the first win in Washington that night, I said, wow, they really bought into the structure. This is going to be a playoff team. And then they went out and lost like 7 straight. I said, this team's in trouble. So it was definitely a roller coaster season, but I thought the resiliency they showed was really good. They kind of a new leadership core with McAvoy and Pasta taking on a bigger role in that leadership. They had been alternative captains before, but I thought they did a nice job, bringing this a bunch of new guys together and a new system together. So, while it was disappointing because I thought they'd win this series, I think overall you have to be pretty happy with this season, whether you work for the Bruins or you root for the Bruins.
All right, so at the end of the game, McAvoy gets the slew foot against him, and he goes over and he has that major slash. What is your feeling on what he did and what the repercussions are going to be?
Yeah, I'm not defending by any means what he did, but I understand that slew footing's a dangerous thing. Guys have been suspended for that in the past. Marchand had been suspended a couple of times with the Bruins for that. I thought that the time of the game where the game was pretty much over was a minute and something left, and it was kind of weaselly moved, but that certainly doesn't excuse Charlie from jumping up and two-hand slashing the guy across the arms. But I understood the emotions of it, but I think he's probably in for a multiple game suspension because of it. And I think he's when talking to him yesterday, he seems pretty resigned to the fact that something like that's going to happen.
I don't doubt that, but and again, I'm listening to the Bruins broadcast, and to them it was all about the slew foot and how that is, the most dangerous thing that you can do is you're going into the boards at that speed. It's not standing still in a scrum as we've, seen guys do before, and, see Marchand do it. He was kind of famous for it. Is there, anything they take into consideration in terms of what instigated it to maybe mitigate the punishment he receives?
I think so, and I think that's the case that Charlie's going to have to make during the in-person interview. But as I said before, I don't excuse Charlie for doing it, but it's a dangerous play, and at that point in the game, I don't think emotions are running high at that point. I mean, I think the Bruins are down 4-1 or 3-1, and it's over. So it's not like it's headed into overtime or a 1-goal game and they're battling. So I thought it was kind of a Weasley move by Zach Benson to take Charlie down like that. And, obviously we found out Charlie has a broken right hand, so he wasn't going to drop the gloves and punch the guy. And I think that was kind of his only recourse at that point was to, not his only recourse, but I think that's why he did it the way he did it. So you would think everything will get taken into consideration. Was a little surprised that he didn't get fined. I didn't think he'd get Benson. I'm talking about. I didn't think he'd get called into the office like Charlie's gonna. But I thought there'd be some kind of extra punishment because he was called for tripping on the play.
So overall, though, the future looks a lot better than it did 12 months ago. There's a lot to build on here. I know Marco Sturm was asked about the potential of Higgins and Minton, and he said, why not? Why not? Both of them could be top 6 centers. Do you agree with that? And what do the Bruins add this offseason?
Yeah, I think they both have the potential to be that. I think Minton surprised everyone this year, right? Like, I don't think anyone thought he'd be a solid third line center in basically his rookie year, and a guy that saw time at the number 1 center spot late in the season. So I don't think there's any reason why he can't. He's a 200-foot player. He's getting better on faceoffs. Higgins, I just haven't seen enough of him to make that proclamation. But I think if he can get stronger on faceoffs, he certainly has the vision and speed and kind of the instincts. He's always in the right spot. So sure, he can play center. He played center a lot at BC before this year when he switched to wing. But I think those guys are the future, and I think it's a bright future. Even you think about Dean Letourneau, who's also at BC. I think he's going to be a really good player at the NHL level. What I think they need, I think they need another top defenseman, and I think they need to put another scorer with Pasta. Like he can't run another season with a center who's hurting. We found out Elias Lindholm has back problems again. He needs a guy that can get him the puck more. And, to his credit, he became a really good playmaker this year. Still scored 100 points, even though he didn't reach the 30-goal mark. But I think you'd like to have him, rifling the puck from the wing a little bit more than he was able to this year. And I think it's because, he wasn't getting the puck in those prime positions. So I think he needs that.
What did you make of bringing Higgins up? I mean, he didn't play a lot in the playoffs. Did you think that? I mean, I wanted to see him, but do you think that was the right thing to do?
Yeah, at the time I didn't, but when I look back, like there was nobody that was, kind of seizing that third line left wing spot that you say, oh, why are you putting this kid in now? So, but as I watched him, he played better and just as he didn't stick out like a sore thumb at that spot, and I think he made some nice plays. I was surprised that he got yanked in the series because I didn't think he had a couple of hiccups in game 2, I think it was, or maybe game 1. But overall, I thought he played really well, and in retrospect, I think it was the right decision because now he's kind of has an idea of what that speed is, and he's heading over to the World Championships now, so that that taste of the NHL action can only help him.
Jim, you mentioned McAvoy's, taking on an added leadership role, him along with Pasternak, but specifically with McAvoy, is he playing well enough, to really warrant not only the leadership mantle, but just as a player in terms of where he is in his development and where he should be?
Yeah, I think he had his best season as a pro. Eight seasons in or 9 seasons in, with career high in points. He was a dog. He played in all situations, which he has for a while. I think what he's overcome physically in the last year and a half, has been amazing, and still been able to produce at a high level and be their top defenseman. So, yeah, I think he's in the upper echelon of defensemen in this league, and I think once he as that recording you played earlier shows, like if he goes in for a few makeovers this summer, he should come back as a whole player, and I think he's a good leader and a guy to build on. Like he's not the I don't think he's a rah-rah guy, but I think he leads by example, and he's kind of a quiet rah-rah guy, if that makes any sense. Like I think he makes his points in the locker room, but he's never going to be a guy that throws a table over and gets emotional like that. But on the ice, yeah, I think he's a really good player, and the future's bright there too. Even though he's a veteran, he's still kind of a young veteran.
I think leadership is most important on this team, and you had 3 assistant captains, and I know you guys asked Marco Sturm whether or not he would name a captain, and he was very non-committal. It just seems to me like it would be Pasternak and not McAvoy. Now, that might upset Charlie a little bit, but it just seems that this needs to happen before the beginning of next season.
Yeah, that was actually my question to Marco at the beginning of yesterday's press conference. And, at first he said, yeah, I prefer, I always had preferred a single captain, but then he talked about, how him and Sweeney got together and talked about different things. And, I think going forward, you probably do need a one single guy. And I go back to last season when McAvoy was out after the Four Nations and Pasta was kind of there as the face of the franchise, and really made inroads as a captain. I thought he led in that locker room. He was probably the best player in the league from January on last season. I'm talking. He was front and center with the media every time we requested him. He never ducked us. So I think he has captain material in him, and I think his relationship with Charlie is probably one where I don't think Charlie's going to be like, oh, they made Pasta the captain, and be down in the mouth about it. I think no matter who got picked, I think the other one would support them, because that's just kind of the way they are.
Okay. Jim McBride, listen, it was a surprising run to the playoffs. It would have been nice if they could have extended this, especially given the Celtics. And now here we are. It is May 4th, and there's nothing until August, really. So we got that going for us.
We got
Jim.
the draft to look forward to.
That's true.
The NHL draft, yes.
We'll find out tomorrow night if the Bruins are going to get that Toronto pick, because the lottery is tomorrow night in lovely Secaucus, New Jersey. So we'll see.
Oh, okay.
No, well,
there you go.
WROR was everyone's favorite local cable affiliate for the great New York area. Then Robin Bird was on. As John and I both saw, she would have Al Goldstein from Screw Magazine on once a week. All right. Anyway, Jim McBride, read him in the Globe. Thanks for everything, and we'll talk to you around the draft.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Hardy. Thanks, John.
There you go. That's
thanks.
so much better.
There you go.
Throw him a
Jim.
bone.
Yeah.
Well done. All right. Give these kids a little credit. All right. Thanks, Jim. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. There you go. The great Jim McBride. Here are the headlines.
Ticket not punched.
Hardy.
No, the ticket's not punched.
Fred.
You got a bunch of stuff wrong when you talk. So much for this country.
Dutcher and Hardy.
This country's a bunch of buffoons that don't know the rules. You idiot.
The Sports Hub.
The Celtics, the Bruins, you can kind of understand. The Celtics, it's disappointing, but you can kind of understand. They weren't supposed to be there anyway. The Celtics were wild favorites in their series. And Jason Tatum, of course, regardless of what you think of it, the fact is that he did not play in Game 7, but you'll remember that Joel Embiid did not play in the first 3 games of the series. So the advantage there is Celtics, if you want to talk about stars not playing. Now, the conventional wisdom was that that maybe the 76ers were better without him. That turned out not to be true, but they didn't have him for 3 games. 7-game series. You didn't have him for 3 games versus 1 game. Advantage Celtics in that. So Jaylen Brown took to Twitch yesterday, and we played him getting after the referees. Here is him talking about the referees and the further things they should do.
Some referees that if I had to choose, if I had to say there's some referees that need to be investigated, just overall out of all the officiating, we had 3 of them in the last 3 games. We had, at top of my list.
Yeah.
Where's the music?
Well, no, he stopped the piano for that because he was adding. He was moving to Oregon so he could go wah wah wah.
Oh, okay.
This isn't good for PR. Again, so I understand what the impulse is to do this. Is that you get on Twitch, you're famous, you get a bunch of people on your Twitch feed in real time, and in the corner there's a bunch of messages saying how wonderful you are and how much you got screwed. And there is, as Hardy said, the last time we talked about this, there's a dopamine rush that comes with it. You do realize in the light of day when these become available to people that don't follow you on Twitch, which is everyone else on the planet except for those 2,000 people that are watching live, this sounds incredibly petty and excuse-making, the likes I've never seen. You were a massive favorite. Going into the season, we all thought that you would be a play-in team or one of the lower, teams that are right into the playoffs. We thought there was a chance that you could very well lose in the first round. No shame. You get your superstar back the next season. Fine. You outperformed that. Great. Then you started teasing and making fun of the notion that people thought that you weren't going to be any good. And you said, look at how stupid you all are, which is great. And this isn't about like the media being stupid. I don't care about that. What I'm saying is that you went, ha, 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 hey, we're really good. And then you have to be, as the media, like, you absolutely are. This is great. You're massive favorites against Philadelphia. It's just conversation. The Celtics are down. The Knicks are down. Cleveland's down. Everyone's down in their series. They all suck. This is the thought. You are going to blow through the East. Now, you probably won't win in the finals, but you're going to blow through the East. Well, no, you lost. So now you can't go back, which we'll play coming up in the next segment, someone doing just that directly after the game, and say, well, this wasn't supposed to be much of a year anyway. After you had spent the last half of the year gloating about how wonderful you were. And then to get on, and Brown played well last night. In
game
2 nights ago.
Yes.
Right.
Brown played well.
Yes.
So to get on and go, well, it's the referees. He had 3 fouls in game 7. He wasn't even in foul trouble. 3 fouls doesn't affect the way you play. It's ridiculous. That didn't affect the outcome of the game. That's asinine. It's just, and look, they're young. Everyone's young. This is how media is handled. But it's just such a bad look.
But the other part of this is running a Twitch feed is never good for an athlete.
Well,
it's
feeling.
Never good. I mean, it goes back. Remember Bryce Harper talking about COVID in 2000 and how he agreed with Blake Snell. That still follows him around. I mean, and this will follow Jaylen Brown around for a little while anyway. I mean, nothing good ever comes of this.
No,
and you have athletes who suffer tough losses that disappear for a few weeks for a reason because they don't want to say the wrong thing. And I don't know what an athlete stands to gain by doing this in any way, shape, or form.
To me, the only thing that you can say, and the only thing that I think he's probably legitimately feeling, other than the personal frustration of being, called for a bunch of offensive fouls, 10 offensive fouls, twice as many as the next guy. All right, you got called for a lot of offensive fouls, but at its core, here's what happened: you played a team that you should have beat, except you couldn't shoot, you couldn't figure out a way to defend Joel Embiid, and your running mate, Jason Tatum, inexplicably decided along with the team that he wasn't going to play in Game 7.
You're out of harm's way. No one's going to blame you for the majority of this.
Yeah.
You showed up, you played well. Yeah, the team lost, but that's not all on you, even though you were the number one guy. There were plenty of other problems. Now you have made yourself the focus of this by complaining about the referees.
Yeah, and if you want to make yourself the focus of it, I guess you have to do it this way because, personally, if Brown's looking at his own game, yeah, I'm sure he wishes he made more shots. The whole team wishes they shot better in the last 3 games. But to make it about this, no one's thinking about that. I know, watching that game, were you tearing your hair out at some of the calls? No. What you were tearing your hair out was the decision to roll 3 of those guys, 3 of the 5 starters out there to start that Game 7. I'm still trying to figure out why Tatum isn't playing, and I'm also trying to understand why they lost the ability to shoot the basketball midway through this series. To me, it's those 3 things and the inability to defend Embiid. Hey, Embiid's played great, and he played hurt at the end of that game. It's a lot easier to go after the refs than it is to confront all those other things. We couldn't shoot. We couldn't defend Embiid. Tatum didn't play. Those are Those are much scarier questions. It's way easier just to say, I got treated poorly by the refs, but it's not the reason you lost.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack, which I guess since we don't have much to talk about the Celtics until October, this is probably a good thing that there's a lot to talk about, because it would have been nice to have the Knicks, Celtics in that juice, which is always a lot of fun, but here we are. The officials obviously caused everything. So anyway, I go to bed on Saturday night, and I get some emails from listeners, and they're like, the Celtics announcer was bad-mouthing you, which I could understand why. If I was Sean Grande, I wouldn't like me, and I would, I bad-mouth him. I think he's a good play-by-play guy, but I bad-mouth, his crying and everything after they won the championship, so I wouldn't blame him. It turns out it's he doesn't really take that shot at me. He had every right to. I'd hate me if I wouldn't hate me, but I would not like me if I was him. But he was annoying. So we will play that for you in just a moment.